Imagine if Debra Morgan had discovered my secret much earlier. If she had known from the very beginning that her brother was a serial killer. Would she have stopped me, turned me in, or would she have helped me? This question changes everything. Debra's loyalty was unmatched. She trusted me more than anyone. But if she had known what I really was, her world would have shattered. In this video, we'll explore how her early knowledge of my dark passenger could have rewritten our relationship, my fate, and the entire course of the story. Because once you know the truth, nothing is ever the same again. Debra's and I's unbreakable bond. Debra always adored me. I wasn't just her adopted brother, I was her best friend, her protector, her constant. After our mother died, she clung to me for comfort, and I became her role model, someone she could always rely on. To Debra, I was stable, the one person who never let her down. Even when I felt like an outsider, disconnected from the world, Debra never saw me that way. To her, I was family, and family was everything. She defended me through thick and thin, never questioning, never doubting. No matter how many mistakes I made, she always found a way to forgive me. Her love for me was endless, unwavering, and she believed in me more than anyone ever had. But what if she had discovered my truth sooner? What if she'd known that her precious brother, the one she trusted most, was a cold, calculated killer? Would her love have been strong enough to survive that? Or would her sense of duty, her belief in justice, have driven her to destroy me? The truth could have shattered everything. That bond, the one we built through years of love and loyalty, might have turned into something dark, something unrecognizable. It could have left Debra broken, betrayed, and more alone than she ever thought possible. The early discovery. If Debra had discovered my secret earlier, it wouldn't have been luck. It would have been her instincts. She was sharp, a detective with a mind that never stopped working. She noticed things others missed, the smallest details, the faintest inconsistencies. And while she overlooked my strange behavior for years, her instincts were always quietly ticking away. Maybe it would have started with a case, a crime scene that didn't add up. No evidence, no leads. Yet somehow, I was always nearby. Perhaps she started noticing the patterns, how certain criminals just seemed to vanish without a trace, always when I was close. Or maybe it happened another way, more personal, more immediate. Maybe one night she followed me, saw me slip out in the dark and trailed me in silence. What if she caught me in the act, standing over a victim, blood on my hands? Her brother, the one she trusted most, revealed as a murderer right before her eyes. Worse still, what if she overheard a conversation between me and Harry, my father, her father, not just knowing my secret, but teaching me to control it? That would have been devastating. She wouldn't just feel betrayed by me, she'd feel betrayed by both of us, the two men she loved most, conspirators in something dark and twisted. No matter how it happened, the truth would have broken her. The brother she adored, the one she believed would always protect her, suddenly revealed as a monster. At first, she wouldn't have believed it, couldn't believe it. The shock would have been overwhelming, the betrayal, unbearable. Debra loved me, that much I know, but she was also a cop, someone who believed in justice above all else. The conflict would have torn her apart, love and loyalty pulling her one way, duty and righteousness pulling her the other. And in the end, I might have been the one person she could no longer recognize. Debra's moral dilemma. First and foremost, Debra was a cop. Her life was dedicated to arresting criminals and protecting innocent people. She worked relentlessly to prove herself in a profession dominated by men, pushing harder than anyone else to show she belonged. Her belief in justice was unwavering, and she wore the badge with pride, convinced that the law was her best weapon against the chaos of the world. But learning my secret would have challenged everything she believed in. What would she have done? Would she have turned me in, handed over her own brother to face the consequences of his actions? Would she have protected me, sacrificing her own career and conscience to save the one person she trusted most? Or would she have pretended she didn't know, forced to carry the weight of that knowledge in silence? It would have been an impossible choice, one that would have torn her apart. To protect me would mean betraying everything she stood for. To turn me in would mean losing the only family she had left, the one person who had always been there for her. Either way, something vital inside her would have broken. If she had discovered my truth earlier, maybe things could have been different. Maybe she would have tried to change me, begged me to find another way to control the darkness inside me. Perhaps she would have kept watch from a distance, hoping to keep me from crossing a line I couldn't come back from. She may have even tried to justify it, telling herself that the people I killed deserved it, that I wasn't a monster, just someone taking justice into his own hands. But deep down, Debra would have known the truth. No matter how much she loved me, no matter how much she tried to rationalize it, I was still a murderer. And as a cop, she knew that someday she'd have to make a choice, the badge or her brother. In the end, that choice would demand a sacrifice, one way or another. My reaction? In the beginning, if Debra had confronted me, I would have lied. It's what I've always done best. I spent my entire life hiding the truth, even from those closest to me. I could have convinced her that she was imagining things, that she'd misunderstood what she saw. After all, I'd spent years perfecting the art of deception. But what if Debra had proof? What if she caught me in the act, standing over a body, knife in hand? Or if she found undeniable evidence, something impossible to explain away? In that moment, I'd have no choice but to admit the truth. But would I have tried to twist it? Likely. I might have told her I only killed bad people, that I wasn't a murderer, but a vigilante, a hero. I would have reminded her how many criminals had slipped through the cracks, how I was doing what the law couldn't. I'd have told her that I wasn't a monster, just someone righting wrongs. But Debra was no fool, not when it came to her job. If she felt betrayed, if her anger outweighed her love for me, I would have been in real trouble. Knowing that my own sister was watching, waiting for me to slip, that would have changed everything. Maybe I would have stopped, or tried to. I might have promised Debra that I could change, that I could silence my dark passenger and live a normal life. And part of me would have wanted to believe that was possible. Or maybe I would have gone the other way. Hidden better, become more careful, more precise. Perhaps I'd have pushed the burden onto Debra, told her to stay quiet, to live with the weight of my secret. No matter how it played out, that moment would have been a turning point. A reminder that the darkest part of me wasn't mine to carry alone anymore. My most dangerous secret would have belonged to her too. Would Debra keep the secret? One of the biggest questions is whether Debra would have kept my secret or not. When she finally learned the truth in season 7, she couldn't accept it, not at first. But despite her shock, she chose to protect me, even as it tore her apart. She struggled to balance her love for me with her duty as a cop, but if she'd found out the truth much earlier, things might have played out differently. At that point in her life, Debra wasn't yet consumed by her complicated feelings for me. She was more stable, clearer in her sense of right and wrong. Without her emotions clouding her judgment, she would have had to weigh the decision differently, coldly, rationally. Could she have sacrificed her career and her sense of justice to protect her brother? Or would her loyalty to the law have forced her to turn me in? If she had chosen silence, it wouldn't have been easy. She'd have been forced to lie to her colleagues, cover up evidence, and find excuses for my whereabouts. Every day, she'd have carried the weight of that secret, the constant fear that someone might uncover the truth. Knowing she was helping a serial killer evade justice, it would have eaten away at her. But could she have lived with the alternative? With knowing she was the one who destroyed me? Turning me in would have meant sentencing her brother, her protector, her constant, to prison or worse. The person who had always stood by her would be gone, and she'd have to live with the guilt of delivering that final blow. No matter what she chose, it would have broken her. Whether she stayed silent or turned me in, Debra would never have been the same. The weight of that decision, the impossible choice between loyalty and justice, would have changed her forever. How would this change me? If Debra had discovered my secret early on, it would have changed everything, including the way I operated. Knowing that someone so close to me was watching would have forced me to be more careful, more precise. I might have even tried to stop, to convince her that I could be normal. But that's not how the dark passenger works. The urges always return, no matter how tightly I try to suppress them. No, I couldn't have stopped for long. Instead, I would have tried to pull Debra into my world, twisted her understanding of justice until she saw things my way. I would have told her I was only eliminating criminals, the ones the legal system had failed to stop. I would have painted myself as a vigilante, doing what the law couldn't. And maybe, if I said it often enough, she might have believed it. Maybe she would have looked the other way, convincing herself that I was serving a kind of justice, even if it meant breaking the law. But if she had gone along with it, even in small ways, she would have felt the weight of it. Debra wasn't the kind of person who could pretend for long. The guilt, the fear, it would have consumed her. And the line between right and wrong, the line she once believed was so clear, would have started to blur. Her love for me might have convinced her to stay silent, but her conscience would have never let her rest. And what if Debra had rejected it outright? What if she refused to see my actions as justified? If she threatened to expose me? Could I have manipulated her then, twisted her fears, her doubts, until she believed there was no choice but to protect me? Or would I have seen her as a threat, a danger to my secret, and acted accordingly? If Debra had discovered my truth earlier, my life would have become even more complicated, more dangerous. And for both of us, there may have been no way out. Would Debra ever betray me? If Debra had been under extreme pressure, would she have betrayed me by turning me in? At first, I believed she would have convinced herself that she could change me, that her love and influence would be enough to pull me away from the darkness. She'd have pushed me to resist the urges, to suppress the monster I carried inside. But over time, she would have realized the truth. that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't change. The dark passenger doesn't disappear. It waits, lurking, patient as ever. Keeping my secret would have crushed her. The constant lies to her colleagues, the weight of covering my tracks, the gnawing fear that someone else might uncover the truth. It would have devoured her. Every time I went out at night, she would have been left at home, terrified, wondering if this was the night I wouldn't come back, or the night the police would knock on her door. That burden would have been impossible to carry forever. Sooner or later, she might have confessed, maybe to Batista, or even to Lagerta. Faced with that decision, she would have had to choose between her sense of duty and her love for me. In the end, maybe justice would have won. And what then? Would I have disappeared, slipping away before the police could close in? Or would I have done something worse, something unthinkable? If Debra had become a threat to my secret, would I have considered killing her to protect myself? An early discovery would have changed everything. It would have placed Debra at the center of a tragic and impossible conflict, one where love, loyalty, and survival collided in ways neither of us could have imagined. And no matter how it ended, we both would have lost. Could Debra and me have found a middle ground? If Debra had learned the truth about me earlier, could we have found a way to coexist? Instead of forcing me to stop or turning me in, could she have accepted my dark nature, found a way to manage it that satisfied her morals, while still giving my dark passenger what it craved? It's possible. Debra might have tried to impose rules, stricter than Harry's code, something designed to keep me in check. Maybe she would have demanded more proof before I acted, more certainty that the people I targeted were truly guilty. Together we could have created a system that felt justified, one that let her believe she was still doing what was right, even if it meant breaking the rules she once held so tightly. But that would have been dangerous. Debra's love for me might have made her blind to the truth, that no matter how strict the rules, the dark passenger would always find a way. She might have convinced herself she was controlling me, when in reality, I would have been controlling her. Living with that weight, watching her justify what she knew was wrong, would have torn her apart, and sooner or later, she'd have to face the truth. You can't coexist with a monster, not without becoming one yourself. If Debra had learned my secret much earlier, everything would have changed. Would she have accepted me, tried to guide me, control me, or would she have turned against me, forcing my downfall long before it finally came? Her early discovery could have altered everything, my fate, her career, and the lives of everyone caught in our web. One thing is certain, our bond, that unshakable connection, would never have been the same. What do you think? If Debra had known sooner, would things have ended better or worse? Let us know your thoughts.